guys, I hope you're good. In my last video, I showed you that I have discovered a load of rust in my water tank, which was preventing any fresh water coming into the boat. In this episode, I am going to de-rust and repaint my water tank. Fingers crossed, that will resolve my problem and I will have fresh water back in my boat. The first thing I did, I pumped out all of the water that was in the tank so I could see just exactly how big the challenge that was facing me was. As you can see, the tank is absolutely caked in rust. It's almost entirely rust. There are big chunks coming off. I am a bit daunted, to be honest, by the job ahead. I don't think the tank has been touched since the boat was built in the early 1980s. I used a wet vac to get the last bits of water from the bottom of the tank, which the pump out hose couldn't get to. Of course, it started raining as soon as I began the job, but luckily I could work from underneath my cover. There were massive chunks of rust easily flaking away, but it soon became apparent to me I was going to be doing this forever if I didn't equip myself with the proper tools for the job. So after a cry for help on Facebook, somebody very kindly gave me a jet wash, which I was hoping would remove these larger chunks of rust a lot quicker and easier than doing it by hand. And I was shocked by how well it actually worked. I didn't imagine the jet wash would work this well, but it actually got some of the rust down all the way back to bare metal. It saved me so much time and effort. I need to clean and dry the tank before I can begin stage 2, which involves a nifty costume change. So the second part of the job was to attach a wire brush to the end of my drill and use that to take away the smaller pieces of rust that I didn't manage to get off with the jet wash. The long sleeves and the gloves are because of the sparks and the little chunks of metal that are going to kick back at me from the wire brush. The mask and the goggles are for obvious safety reasons, and the swimming cap is because I don't want to end up with a hair full of rust again like I did after the jet washing. It was really scratchy on my scalp and I just can't be bothered to wash it again 2 days in a row. This part of the job took ages. It was hot and sweaty. I wanted to take my time and do a really thorough job, but I was also aware that I needed to get the rust treatment on before the temperature dropped below 5 degrees Celsius, or the chemical reaction in the product wouldn't have been able to work. You can see from these corners just how bad the rust buildup had become. And as uncomfortable as the job was, it was actually really easy in terms of not needing a really high level of skill or experience. Sometimes you're scared of doing these DIY jobs, but they're actually quite easy once you get to do them. Although this is a once in a lifetime thing for me, I have zero desire to repeat this process ever again, even though I'm quite proud of myself for what I've achieved. Like I said, it's not really technically difficult, but it took a very, very long time. You're squeezed down in the water tank, it's really cramped, it's really hot. As well as using the drill, I was using a manual wire brush as well. Because the job was so messy, I had to periodically hoover out all of the dust. Once I'd got most of the rust out, I changed the drill bit to a smaller wire brush just to get into the edges and the corners, those hard to reach places. After a lot of hours of brushing away at the rust, I was finally done. And despite all the protective clothing, I was still covered in dust, including up my nose, even though I was wearing that mask. The instructions on the rust converter liquid say that the surface area needed to be really clean and dry, so I filled up the tank again with some water and washing up liquid. I pumped that out and then I left it to dry thoroughly. So now that everything is completely dry, I'm ready to start the treatment. I'm using a product called Narrowboat. It's a rust converter, and the way that it works, it removes moisture and oxygen, which are the two main causes of rust, and it creates a seal to prevent further ingress of oxygen and water. That's what the advert says anyway. Basically, it's a white liquid when it comes out of the bottle, and you paint it on. And then when the chemical reaction starts to work, it will turn blue. And once it starts turning blue, you keep painting for a couple of minutes, and then it will start to turn black as it dries. And that should be the rust treated. It's water-based, so it doesn't have any unpleasant smell, and it should be safe to use without needing to paint over it. Although if you want to, you can use it as a primer and put a top coat of paint on afterwards if you wish to. I think it's a really good product to use for the water tank, because if you are going to take your drinking water from the tank, then you don't really want it painted with something that's got carcinogens or other toxic ingredients in the paint. On the bottle it says that they recommend using at least 2 coats, but once I finish the first coat, I'm very, very impressed with the result. I'm going to come back tomorrow and see how things look then. So unfortunately there is still some rust coming through after the first coat has dried. The neutral rust can work with temperatures as low as 5 degrees, and I left the heater on for some of the drying time, but I had to leave the boat overnight and I think the temperature may have dipped below 5, but I'm going to give it the recommended second coat now and see how we get on. Yes, I am in my swimming costume because I do not want to ruin any more of my clothes. Just a word of warning, if you do get neutral rust on your toenails, they will be black for weeks afterwards. Ooh, that's the first time I've seen the scar on the back of my neck. That's pretty bad, isn't it? Okay, so that's the second coat done and drying. Fingers crossed for a better result than the first coat. I came back the next day and it had dried much, much better than the first coat, although there was still a couple of places that needed just a little bit of a touch up, so I'm doing that now with some black paint. You can see the bit where I'm putting the paint on compared to the dried bit on the right hand side, which is the result that I got from the neutral rust. So I'm actually quite impressed by it. It is still raining. It rained for almost the entire time that I was doing this work. Okay, I have left the paint to fully dry. I've refilled the water tank, and hopefully I should now have fresh water coming back into my boat. Here's the moment of truth, and nothing happened. I wanted to cry. I have no idea why it wasn't working. It was just so disheartening. After days of working non-stop into the night, I'm gonna have to get back in touch with the plumber and find out what it was. Hopefully it's just something really simple and I can get everything fixed soon. So I'm sorry that there wasn't a better conclusion to the video, but hopefully it gave you an idea of the process of painting a water tank. Should that be something you wish to do? It's not something I would recommend doing. I'm glad that I did it. I have a real sense of achievement that I've done it, but I would be more than happy to never ever ever have to do anything like that again. And it has cemented to me that any future boat I get must come with a stainless steel water tank. That's non-negotiable. If you did still enjoy the video, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, then do that now. And hopefully in an upcoming video, we can resolve the problem with my water. All right, thank you for watching. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye.